What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Leo coming to you guys with yet another video. So today we're reacting to 10 worst WWE matches of 2024. Now we're in the year 2025 now, then we're going back down memory lane to 2024 to see what matches were the worst of that year. I can kind of already think of at least probably one off the top of my head, and that's being the Jey Uso and the Jimmy Uso match. I think that match had all the potential in the world to be a really good match. It compelled both guys in the grand scheme of things, but unfortunately, it ended up being a very, very bad match. It was pretty much a super kick fest, if you want to be honest, and the match really just didn't live up to the fans' expectations. And it just kind of suffered in the grand scheme of things. But we'll see what other matches will be on this list for worst WWE matches of 2024. Comment down below, what do you think was the worst match of 2024 in your personal opinion? Leave it down in the comment section down below. But let's get into it. Let's see what Cultaholic deems worst WWE matches of 2024.
It says a lot about how strong WWE's in-ring year was that coming up with 10 noteworthy bad matches proved rather difficult. WWE's talented roster typically brought their A-game when it came to television and premium live event matches, making it a lot easier to remember those that were good. Were there some throwaway matches or matches that were just sort of there? Of course there were. There were also some duds, though a lot of what we've identified as below par belonged more in the disappointment category and not the outright disaster pile. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are the 10 worst WWE matches of 2024. Join us. Number 10, Seth Rollins vs. Jinder Mahal on Raw. And we are kicking things off with a match that...
this match, now I wouldn't say this was the worst, but it was not the best. I will say that it was bad, if we want to be honest. And this was pretty much like Jinder Mahal's last televised match in WWE before his Ultimate release and stuff like that. So, I mean, he did put up at least a decent match on his way out, so I will say that. I wouldn't say this match is the worst, though.
But as far as the actual in-ring work was concerned, was perfectly acceptable. Seth was on one of his roles at this point, and Jinder, despite what some may think of him, is a solid enough wrestler and a credible threat against anyone when he's being booked credibly. But by this point, the modern-day Maharaja hadn't been booked credibly in an age. Hell, he'd barely been booked at all, and his improbable WWE title reign of 2017 felt like a very long time ago indeed. Inadvertently upping the stakes was AEW owner Tony Khan, citing the lack of logic in Mahal being granted a WWE World Heavyweight title shot in comparison to his own decision to pit Hook against then AEW World Champion Samoa Joe, which he believed had received undue flack from fans. With this in mind, some people genuinely believed WWE might go ahead and book Jinder to win the bout and the title as a way of getting back at Tony. It didn't happen, of course, and in the end it was a routine defense for Rollins, who suffered an injury during the contest. As for Jinder, he was released in April, making this his last hurrah. Number 9, The Pride vs. The Final Testament at WrestleMania 40 Night 2. WrestleMania 40...
Yeah, I was not a fan of this match. This probably was like one of the few matches that I didn't care about on the show. It didn't do anything. It just didn't excite me. I mean, the match was okay, but it's just like, you could literally put this on like the SmackDown before WrestleMania or something like that. If we did have WrestleMania kickoffs, you could put it on the WrestleMania kickoff. It didn't, to me, warrant being on the actual WrestleMania card. So, I don't know. But comment down below, let me know, do you guys think this match should have even been on WrestleMania?
So he must have felt bittersweet for
Taxes was waiting.
Bobby Lashley. On the one hand, at least he made the card this time after his match with Bray Wyatt the previous year was cancelled. On the other hand, it was this match. Teaming with the Street Profits, Lashley took on Karrion Kross and the Authors of Pain in a Philadelphia Street Fight 6-man that also featured B-Fab and Scarlett. Oh, and Bubba Ray Dudley as special guest referee, and Snoop Dogg on commentary because, of course. A lot of stuff happened out there, and they certainly made use of the weapons, bringing in kendo sticks, trash cans, and steel chairs, but they were clearly rushing to fit as much as possible into their allotted 8.5 minutes. There was a lot of sloppiness too, with blown spots and missed well-timed moves, including the centerpiece table spot, and the AOP just seemed to bugger off at one point, never to return. A six-man weapons-filled brawl with all the sports entertainment extras could and should have been more fun than this one was, especially considering the stage it was on. Number 8, Io Sky vs Sonya Deville on Raw. Right, to play devil's advocate right off the bat, it is worth mentioning that
I'm not gonna lie, I don't even remember this match. I'm sorry. And that's no disrespect to Io or Sonya Deville, but I genuinely don't remember this match at all.
Sonya Deville hadn't wrestled in a year after tearing her ACL in July of 2023. So when she met the usually dependable Io Sky in just her 4th match back, a bit of rustiness could be expected and forgiven. But this wasn't just a bit of rustiness. And also, it wasn't just Deville who was having a bit of a stinker out there either. Because Io also seemed lost at times and messed up rudimentary things like a dropkick through the middle and bottom rope and bumped awkwardly for what looked like very basic offense on Sonya's part. Deville was off on a lot of spots and moves, however, and it was glaringly apparent that the two of them had poor chemistry with one another. It picked up at the end and Sky managed to redeem things with some nice looking offense in the closing stretch, including a moonsault to the floor and one in the ring, but it wasn't enough to salvage a match that would have likely been described by prime Jim Ross as bowling shoe ugly. Number 7, Liv Morgan vs Rhea Ripley at Bad Blood. One of the top WWE feuds of the year was the one between Liv Morgan and...
Okay. And like I've said before, I'm a Liv Morgan fan, and I'm a Rhea Ripley fan. So I can understand where they're coming from for this match, because it felt like, in a sense, Rhea was doing a lot of the offense in the match, and Liv wasn't really getting much, and then the ending kind of brought it down even more, so I can understand this one.
Rhea Ripley. The feud's heat increased several degrees at SummerSlam when Dominic Mysterio turned more heel and aligned himself with Morgan after helping to cost his mammy her shot at the women's world title. The SummerSlam match was really quite good, raising expectations for their rematch at Bad Blood, where, as an added stipulation, Dirty Dom would be locked in a shark cage. They tried to tell a story out there, with Ripley getting distracted by the suspended above the aisle Mysterio, allowing Morgan to take advantage and focus on the challenger's knee before they traded some near falls. There was a neat moment when Dominic fell out of the cage and ended up hanging upside down, but they really made a hash of the finish and ruined what hadn't exactly been a thrilling match to begin with.
This match was supposed to be better than it was supposed to be, and I think the ending was supposed to be Raquel coming in, hitting Rhea Ripley with the Tejana bomb, and then putting Liv over Rhea to get the 1, 2, and 3 to win the match. So Liv was supposed to win this match, but because of the referee's timing being off, and he's seen the match, he couldn't just ignore it, so he had to literally call for the belt and being a bit of DQ. So yeah.
Raquel Rodriguez made her return and attacked Rhea for the DQ, though the original ending was supposed to be Liv scoring the pin after the interference. It was seriously a confusing and messy conclusion that did nobody any favors. Number 6, the Women's Royal Rumble match at Royal Rumble. Paul Triple H Levesque has received praise for his commitment to long-term storytelling and ability to book marquee matches effectively. That praise may be warranted, but the game can't seem to lay out a top-level Royal Rumble match for love nor money. The women's iteration from 2024 was another iffy one that felt like a major missed opportunity when it was over. There were some good moments, don't get me wrong, but those were few and far between. So while it was cool to see the return of Liv Morgan, the debut of Jade Cargill, and the surprise appearance of TNA's Jordan Grace, who was the standout performer in the match, by the way.
I will say this: there were some hidden gems in this match. There were some really good gems in this match. Having Jade Cargill finally come in, having TNA be involved once again, and we haven't seen that until 2022 before this point. And Jordan Grace coming in, and she's making a good showing. I kind of think she's gonna come in this year at the Royal Rumble, and she's probably going to do some good stuff in the Rumble as well. Liv Morgan making her longer-awaited return, so it was a cool thing to see. It had some great moments, and you had Naomi coming back. It was a lot of great moments that happened throughout this Royal Rumble match that I think people still talk about. So I don't know how it could be the worst, but we'll see.
The bulk of the contest was meandering and at times rather awkward. Bayley ended up winning the thing, setting a longevity record in the process, and the last few minutes were genuinely exciting.
Yeah.
The match up until then, however, failed to stir the crowd, which could be attributed to a lack of real star power in the
YouTube Premium is ad-free YouTube and
that I will say.
background play, so you can watch videos while reading, searching.
inclusion of many who were clearly just in the match to make up the numbers. Number 5, the Women's War Games at Survivor Series. Fans were initially thrilled when WWE made the
This was awful. This was awful for two things. This was awful for two reasons. The first reason, you had both women's championships be on the losing side. That's one. Two, this feud between that they were going into, they didn't need to have a War Games match. You could have literally set up a traditional 5-on-5 and there'd been elimination style. You could have just done that if you really wanted to have the women be on Survivor Series and doing something. They did not need to be in War Games just so you can fill out, just to say that they had a War Games match. There was no reason for it. There was really no story behind it. It just didn't need to happen. You could have literally just did a traditional 5-on-5 elimination style, and you could have added stakes to the match. If literally the faces lost, they could no longer, challenge for the titles or something like that. Or if Rhea Ripley lost or something, she could no longer challenge for the Women's World Championship, or vice versa. You know what I mean? So it would have been better if they would have added some stakes so more people can be invested and actually care about what was going on, because there's consequences of what happens. So I wish they would have done that, and I feel like the heel should have won, because if you want to be honest, if you're going logical route and talking about facts, the faces have won every single time when it comes to War Games matches for the women. Every single time. Even going back to NXT, the faces have won time and time again. And this would have been a great way to flip the switch and have the heels win for the first time. And now it can kind of be like going into these shows. Now it's like, okay, well, anybody can win. The faces can win or the heels can win. But now going into the pay-per-views, it seems just like, the face is going to win because they win every year. So, I don't know. Maybe this is something that could change this year. We'll see.
Decision to bring War Games to the main roster. A classic gimmick match, War Games represented something a little bit different and certainly made for a nice change of pace after years of battles for brand supremacy at Survivor Series. Well, it's probably fair to say the novelty has worn off a bit and that we might as well go back to battles for brand supremacy if the War Games matches are going to be like the women's division's effort from 2024. The big issue at play in this one was the feud between captains Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, a feud that had been going on for months by this point. There were a couple of neat spots here and there, but the modern day War Games tropes are well worn by now. Do they always need to bring a weapon with them when they enter the match? And at close to 40 minutes, it just went on for a bit too long. Also, I'm pretty sure that time actually stood still when Nia Jax dished out those chair shots. Ripley getting some revenge on Morgan for the finish was a nice moment, but the juice really wasn't worth the squeeze. Number 4, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill versus the Kabuki Warriors at Backlash France. Backlash France was overall a tremendous premium live event enhanced by a rabid crowd and capped off with a fantastic main. The one down spot, it must be said, was the women's tag team title match with Asuka and Kairi Sane defending against Belair and Cargill. It started off well enough with Bianca doing most of the work for the challengers, while Jade got to look impressive by bouncing the champs around. Unfortunately, after Belair took some heat and gave the hot tag to her partner, things started to noticeably and rapidly fall apart. Cargill seemed to have a hard time being in the right place and positioning herself to take offense, while there was a weird momentum-killing moment where the referee rightly refused to count because Kairi wasn't the legal woman. From there, it was obvious that Jade and the Warriors were lost, and it took them a while to find the right page of the script. By the time they did, any spark the match had was well and truly gone. At 17 minutes, it was probably a good 3 or 4 minutes too long too, but at least the finish looked great and the title change was well received. Number 3, Bayley versus Nia Jax at Bad Blood. Bayley and Nia Jax had a rubbish and heatless match at SummerSlam. easier to remember those that were good.
Oh shoot. What did I do? Did I literally just do that? There we go.
Number 3, Bayley versus Nia Jax at Bad Blood. Bayley and Nia Jax had a rubbish and heatless match at SummerSlam where the role model dropped her title to the irresistible.
I thought they had good chemistry in that match, though. I thought they had good chemistry in their SummerSlam match. But the one at Bad Blood just wasn't it. It wasn't it. Like, I don't know what it was with some of the women's matches, like, in the later parts, at least for, like, the women's championships and stuff like that. It's just, like, they had one good match at one good pay-per-view, and the next pay-per-view, they're not really having a good match at all. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a time thing or... I don't know. Only Triple H knows, so...
Force, ending her reign on a dour note. Would they redeem themselves in the rematch at Bad Blood? No. The answer is no. Having to follow the classic Hell in a Cell war between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk put them in an unenviable position to begin with, and to give them credit, they at least started the match at a fairly brisk pace. However, it was a pace that they couldn't maintain, and the match plodded along in an uninspired fashion, even if Bayley did try to inject some excitement with her comebacks. Unfortunately, things really took a turn with Nia's laughable attempt at a Hurricane Rana and Bayley's bungled sunset flip into the turnbuckles. A couple more ropey moments and a silly ref bump led to Tiffany Stratton's failed cash-in attempt, which also featured a whiffed briefcase shot on Bayley, with the distraction allowing Jax to retain. You could see what they were going for here, but it simply didn't work. Number 2, Nia Jax versus Liv Morgan at Crown Jewel. About a month after dogging it against Bayley at Bad Blood, Nia Jax was once again given a big stage and a major match.
The match, not the best, but the moment, okay.
A WWE Premium Live event. At Crown Jewel, Nia met Liv Morgan in a battle of the two women's champions. The winner would become the Crown Jewel champion, a strictly ceremonial title that was created to make the company's visit to Saudi Arabia seem more important than it actually is. Despite all the ceremony and circumstance, the Saudi faithful initially reacted with indifference to this one, and really, who can blame them? The action, such as it was substandard, even if Morgan did nail a nice satellite DDT and Jax hit a clean pop-up Samoan drop. After 5 or so minutes of uninspired wrestling, Tiffany Stratton showed up to yet again tease a cash-in that didn't happen, and just how old has that trope gotten, by the way, with Raquel Rodriguez and Dominic Mysterio running out to the aid of Liv. A kick from Raquel to Nia set up a weak-looking Oblivion to make Morgan the Crown Jewel champ. It seems strange to say given the performer's sometimes patchy performances throughout 24, but this still somehow managed to be a letdown. Number 1, Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso at WrestleMania 40 Night 1.
I said it was going to be on the list. Like I said, this feud really had all the potential in the world. I was there when Jey Uso challenged Jimmy Uso to a match at WrestleMania, and that crowd was erupted for that. Just the moment in time that we were in, about to see brother versus brother. We haven't seen something like this since probably like Jeff Hardy versus Matt Hardy. So this could have had all the potential in the world to be something really special. And then when we got to the show, got to the match, it went downhill instantly.
1. Right, so what the hell happened here then? Twin brothers Jimmy and Jey Uso had the grandest stage. They had a meaty storyline heading into their first time meeting, and they absolutely blew it. WWE clearly had high expectations for the first Uso versus Uso encounter, given that they booked it at WrestleMania, and the brothers themselves had long talked about the banger they would inevitably have when they finally squared off. Sadly, this was the antithesis of Brett versus Owen. Hell, it didn't even come close to Matt versus Jeff. Because from the first minute, it was evident that Jimmy and Jey just didn't have good chemistry as opponents, and the match that they had, with the endless super kicks and forced family drama, fell flat en route to an anticlimactic finish. It was dispiriting to see tens of thousands of people simultaneously realize what a massive disappointment this whole thing was. Jimmy and Jey have actually both alluded to the fact that they weren't happy with it since. I mean, how could they be? Citing their time being cut and Jimmy's injury as contributing.
Yeah, man. The time did get cut. It was supposed to be a little bit longer. I don't know if that played into how the match really ended, but you kind of got to also agree, like he said. I don't think they had chemistry as opponents. Now, a tag team, they have a great amount of chemistry, but his opponents, not so much. And they got injured in the match, and then had to kind of pivot, and I don't know, I'm not really pivot, but like Jimmy had to take time off after that. So, yeah, man. Comment down below, like I said, let me know what is the worst match of 2024 in your opinion, and why you think that match was the worst match. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Road to 600, but the ultimate goal is 10K by the end of the year. I know we can do it as a wrestling family, as a wrestling community, so let's make it happen. Super kick that like button, helps my channel gets pushed across the platform so more people can see what I'm doing over on YouTube. Superman punch the post notification bell and spear the subscribe button. Takes 3 seconds later. Those 3 things for me. Helps on the progression of my channel as well. But with that being said, hope everybody has a great day, a great week, and I'll see you guys in the next video.